Okay, so by watching the intro, you know we're going to make some biscotti today. One thing, when it comes to biscotti or cookies or something like that, that you are going to be use your imagination on the fillings. Like biscotti, you can put pretty much anything in there you want, nuts, dried fruits, stuff like that. But you have to consider beforehand what's going on. So I've got dried cherries. These dried cherries they've been hanging around, they're pretty dried out. I got crystallized ginger. So this stuff needs to be prepped beforehand before you start mixing the dough up, because once you get that dough together, you can't wait around for these. And the thing is that these guys are pretty dry right now, so I need to chop them up and I need to hydrate them. And the same thing with these guys. They need to be chopped up too, because who wants to bite into a biscotti with a big chunk of crystallized ginger? I'm going to work on that. You can watch if you want. Well, I'll probably show a little bit of it. I want to impress upon you when you're using one of these with stuff like this that is fairly sticky, fairly difficult for the knife to go through, be careful, go slow. Yeah, if I'm doing an onion, I'm gonna fly through it, but these, I'm gonna take my time. So I've got 3/4 of a cup of dried cherries, and I'm gonna use maybe an ounce of this crystallized ginger. To work. So I got the cherries and the ginger cut up. The cherries halved, quartered. Just want them a little bit smaller because these things are pretty big. The ginger, I want somewhat of a fine chop on it. I don't want huge chunks of ginger in this. So I'm just going to cover it with some not quite boiling water. And I'm just going to let it sit for about 20 minutes to hydrate. While I'm doing that, I'm going to gather up the rest of the things for the biscotti. While the cherries and ginger were soaking, I cranked up old Bessie over here. So hopefully she's up to temp by the time I'm done with this video. But we'll see. I think she'll do fine. So first thing we're going to do is, this is put together using the creaming method. And creaming method is taking fat, aka butter in this case, and sugar, and whipping them together until it's a nice light foam. Now let's talk sugar here. I'm just using regular white table sugar, but one of the things I noticed is in my little canister of crystallized ginger, there was a bunch of sugar that had fallen off. Ginger flavored sugar that had fallen off. So guess where that is? You paid for it, you might as well use it. Okay, I'm going to start creaming this together. Okay, to start the creaming method, we'll throw in our fat. That's 4 tablespoons of butter. I got 3/4 of a cup of sugar. Lower that down, and then just beat the snot out of it. We'll start off on low speed and then we'll crank it up to high till we get to the point where we want it. Okay, that's put together. Pretty much right where we want it. I've scraped it down a couple of times. Time to add in some eggs. I got 2 chicken eggs. Incorporate them one at a time. Doesn't take very long to do that. Egg number 2. So we know we're going to do ginger cherry. First thing we're going to need, always need a little bit of salt. Chuck that in there. We're going to add some more flavor to it. We're going to add some more flavor. I've got some vanilla extract. I'm going to go about a tablespoon. There we go. And I've got a little Amaretto extract, about a half teaspoon. There we go. Give that a scrape. One quick little mix. Good. Now we need to start adding our leavener. I've got baking powder. This is a teaspoon. And flour. So I'm going to chuck this in first. Flour, recipe calls for about 2 cups. But we're going to be adding some extra moisture that's going to be clinging to those cherries and the ginger. So I may go up as high as 2.5 cups. But we're going to start off with 2 cups and we'll see where we're at. There's 1 cup. Now for the 2nd cup. Now for the ginger and the cherries. We're good. I'm looking at this dough. It should feel like cookie dough, which it is, a cookie. It feels good. Doesn't feel sticky. Doesn't feel too dry. So I think we're right about where we need to be. So I'm not going to add in that extra half cup. See what I mean? Okay. So I'm going to take this out, get a little bench flour down, and I'm going to move it all out onto the board. So I'm not going to work it very much. I'm just going to more or less divide it and then shape it. And then it's going to go on the pan. You'll also notice I take bracelets, rings off. It's a good idea when you're doing this. So I'm gonna cut it roughly equal pieces. Take our sheet pan. You'll notice I've got one of those silicone impregnated mats. You may think that they're not worth the expense, but I've had this one about 4 years. And imagine all the parchment paper I didn't have to buy because of this. I usually go through about 2 rolls of parchment a year. That's without using these. So you figure 3 to 4 a year, and this costs 20, 30 bucks. So kind of shape it out, pop it on here, and then I'm gonna kind of flatten it out with my hands and shape it at the same time. And same for the other one. And pop it down on here. So you want to just kind of roughly make sure you have the same thickness. And you want to make it as close to a rectangular as you can. You'll see why. Okay, I think we're pretty good here. I'm going to pop it in the oven, 20 minutes, and then we'll be back. All right, here they are. Just starting to turn golden brown. They look good. Now comes the tough part. These have to cool completely. So how cool? Meaning shut off the lights, turn off the camera, check the batteries, that type of cool. And possibly have lunch. I'll see you in about a half hour to an hour. So these things are completely cooled. Don't need that towel. Oh, after about 10 minutes, I put it on the towel just to get it off the pan. I didn't want any condensation coming up because we're gonna try to dry these things out, so. And of course, biscottis are twice baked, so we need to set up for the second bake. So, we of course now have to cut them. I've heard 2 different ways of cutting them. One is a little bit against what I would normally do, which is, you know, use the knife and go straight down. We'll give it a try. I don't know, it just kind of splinters it and stuff like that. I'm gonna go to the way I was expecting and just use a serrated and saw it up. Going about 1/2 inch thick. You notice I'm cutting it on a slight bias, so just so you don't get a major edge that you have to bite into. So again, slight bias, about 1/2 inch thick. And just line them up on the pan. and we'll get them ready to go in the for the second cook or second bake. Okay, these are ready to go in the oven. I'm going to give them 10 minutes on each side. I want them to start getting a little golden brown on the inside of these. And then I'll flip them over. Yes, go in and individually flip them. And cook the other side until it's the same way. And then we bring them out. All right, here we go. I've got all these biscottis going. What I did again, 10 minutes one side, they started turning golden brown. You can see that on the small screen there. Now it's for the final step. Well, second to final step. Yep, we gotta let them cool again. It's gonna take probably another half hour or so. It's kind of one of those, I guess you could call it a rainy day project. When you're stuck inside. And yes, you noticed I used the same pan over and over again. And that's the nice thing about the silicone mats, because parchment paper would have long since browned, wrinkled up, and just, you know, I wouldn't have been able to use it. I probably would have had to replace the parchment paper after each one. And again, these are relatively inexpensive. I think these were 20, 30 bucks. It's worth it. And the pan, restaurant supply store. Okay, so I'm gonna let these cool completely, and then we're gonna finish them off. And I might use that pan again. Okay, these guys have been cooling for about 10, 15 minutes now. They're almost cool enough that you would, you know, for a cookie, you would probably start placing weight. But let's, I'm gonna give these a few more minutes, maybe another 10, 15 minutes, and just to make sure that they crisp up nicely. When I make these, I like them to have a little bit of chew to them, not to be completely crisp and rock hard. I like a little bit of chew to them. If you like them rock hard like that, bake them off just a little bit longer. Be easy to do. So I'm going to let these cool, and while they're cooling, I'm going to melt some chocolate. Hey, got the chocolate all melted out. There's a few lumps in there, that's fine, they're going to work their way out. Melting chocolate. Uniform shapes. If you've got chips, high quality chips, use them. Otherwise, shave it nice and thinly off the big blocks, stuff like that. What I do is I put it in a glass container, throw it in the microwave, 10 seconds at a time. No, I'm sorry, 15 seconds at a time. Then stir it. Do not skip the stir, because you want to distribute the warm ones from the hot, cold ones and get that mixed up. Do that every 15 seconds until it's pretty much all the way, well, most of the way melted. You'll have a few chunks in there, but that's fine. But don't skip that stir step. Okay, dipping these. Oh, by the way, the pan, same pan, didn't wash it. I wiped it off. Well, I flipped the pad over. So, dip it in. Let it drizzle a little bit, and then I'm gonna put it chocolate side down. There we go. Dip to the chocolate, but I've got a little bit more chocolate left over, so I'm going to drizzle them on the cookies. Why not? So now that the biscottis are done and looking pretty nice, they need to cool a little bit. Let that chocolate set. About all we need to do now is get a cup of coffee. All right, cup of coffee, something to dunk in the coffee. Life is good. Hey, if you like this video, go ahead, like, subscribe, share, comment, all that stuff. This is Chef Terry. I'll see you next time.